Phase 2 may seem a really long way away at the moment, but actually, there's no harm in getting ready now. And by that, I just mean buying some stuff, trying to get it cheap in Phase 1, knowing that it's going to spike in price in Phase 2. Most of these things revolve around the new stuff coming in Ulduar, but of course, things like enchants and enchanting materials, with everybody then getting this new surge of gear that they need enchanting. If you can pick enchanting mats up in general, pretty cheap, definitely worth picking some up and storing them for the first couple of weeks of Ulduar when people are getting loads of gear chucked at them, especially on alts as well, because of how the gearing for alts is going to work in Phase 2 with the whole Naxx gear coming from 5-mans. Still don't know how I feel about that. There's going to be a rise in demand for enchanting in general, enchanting mats, scrolls, whatever, so stock up on them now, ready to sell for lots of moolah in Phase 2. There's probably tons of others, but I want to touch, as I say, on the ones that come with Ulduar and things that people are probably not even thinking about.
First, just a quick word from our sponsor.
Whether you play Classic Era, Wrath, or even Retail, sometimes we just need a little bit of help. Some guidance on a rotation for an ult, or a quick breakdown of a boss before you pull, just to freshen up on those mechanics. Or maybe you're changing your profession and want a full breakdown of everything you need from the auction house and what to craft. I've got you covered. Warcraft Tavern has guides for every class and spec for both PvE and PvP, all profession guides with a massive attention to detail. Dungeon guides, raid guides, reputation guides, talent calculators, as well as some other cool things all in one place like server populations, holiday event guides, achievement guides, and so much more. There genuinely is so much, I wouldn't be able to cover it all in this small segment. And because there's a comment section within all the categories we've already discussed, the admin of the site are always reading the suggestions or corrections and acting on them to really create a one-stop shop for everything World of Warcraft. Thank you Warcraft Tavern for sponsoring the video. Let's carry on. Tailoring's cloth, like Spellweave and Ebenweave in particular, will go up in price, and it will be purely because of this one pattern, Sash of Ancient Power. With hit and haste, and a lot of spell power with 2 sockets, it's an absolute beast of a belt which many classes are going to want, as long as the patterns get buffed in eye level along with the rest of Ulduar gear, which they absolutely should. Now, Runed Orbs you're not going to be able to do anything about now because obviously they actually come from the raid, but getting some Spellweave when it's cheap, using Auctionator or AUX or TSM, any of that, to look at historic prices and trying to pick them up when they're cheap, keep hold of these and you'll be able to flip them for a good price come Phase 2. There's also other cloth patterns, of course, that require these, such as Spellslinger's Slippers, and the Spirit and Crit alternative being Saviour's Slippers and Cord of the White Dawn, but these need Moon Shrouds. Don't get me wrong, they're good, but in particular, that Spellcaster DPS belt is going to be sought after quite heavily as soon as people start getting the pattern. It's BOE, so it can be sold on the auction house, so you'll probably see crafters early on who get this pattern just buying the mats raw off the auction house and being able to flip it themselves for a decent amount of profit because limited supply. If you've got a skinner or you just look and general materials from skinning are quite cheap on the auction house, picking up some Arctic fur and heavy Borean leather, absolutely worthwhile for things such as Belt of Arctic Life. Again, a brilliant belt for Resto Druid, even Balanced Druid, whatever. Would you prefer the hit belt? Possibly, but still, they're going to sell. People are going to want it. The demand is going to go up. Price is going to go up. Belt of Dragons in particular is a really good crafting pattern as well, with agility, stamina, intellect, crit, haste, attack power. Your enhancement shamans, hunters, whatever are going to want this. It's a great belt, and this also requires Arctic furs, being 3 of them, but it also needs 20 icy dragon scales. So sitting on a lot of icy dragon scales, or again, at the moment, being able to buy them cheap off the auction house, you definitely want a good amount of these, even if you're not a level worker. You know, you just want to keep them ready for when week 1, week 2 of Ulduar, when people start getting these patterns, you can absolutely start smashing loads of icy dragon scales on the auction house, making that moolah. The other one in particular that I see going up in price, even though the market's so saturated with them at the moment, but mainly because of the limited uses, is Eternal Shadow. Now, we know Eternal Shadow is not that difficult to get, but I'd imagine when the prices are at an all-time low during Phase 1, it'd be a good idea to pick as many of them up as you can, because Footpads of Silence and Death Warmed Belt are 2 very, very strong recipes, which people are definitely going to be wanting. We've already spoke about Arctic Fur, so we don't need to worry about the Arctic Fur, but the Eternal Shadows needing 2 for the boots and 4 for the belt, they will absolutely start to go up in price again, particularly for the first 4 to 6 weeks, I would say, of Ulduar. So you get the point. We're looking at recipes, and it's the new patterns that are going to come in each tier of content which is going to dictate the market on certain things. The same will apply for TOC. We've missed one big one, which we might as well just get out of the way, and then I can bid you farewell. You can hit that subscribe button and the like button, obviously. You might as well hit them now before we finish. What's the point? You might as well just do it. Go on, quick. I'll have a bit of my Dr. Pepper while I wait. Thanks for that. The final one would be Titan Steel Bars. There would have been a big spike at the start, of course, when people are pumping these out to try and get their pre-raid bis, but now they'll be dropping down in price, and people won't be looking far enough ahead forward thinking, wait, I'm going to need these again at some point. So they'll just be selling them for whatever they can get their hands on, basically. But when we get things like Battle Lord Plate Boots coming in, which requires 5 Titan Steel Bars, same with like Belt of the Titans, 5 Titan Steel Bars, and this is a very nice belt with crit and expertise, or even the tanking stuff like Indestructible Plate Girdle, which needs 5, Plate Girdle of Righteousness for healers, or even Spiked Death Dealers. They're all very good items that people are going to want to get made ASAP, even if it's not their bis. They will still look at it and see a really easy upgrade for a couple of thousand golds worth of materials or whatever. But if you're sat on loads of these materials, you can almost dictate the market. But that's about it. It is only the recipes that we was looking at. There's certainly loads of things that you could start getting prepared, don't get me wrong, but really the biggest change between Phase 1 and 2 is going to be the sheer amount of loot that people are getting, and in particular, these patterns. So start stacking up on some of these materials. Mark my words, you can't go wrong. Like and subscribe, and roll the outro.
There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes, everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name, and you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.